Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto has harem with Hinata and Tsunade, Shizune Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this and comment for next part. And now let's start the fanfic. The girls paled as Naruto lead them to another clearing in the training ground. The girls turned white when they saw the equipment in the area. A large kunai throwing device was in one corner, a boulder surrounded by smaller rocks and stones sat in the middle. The most intimidating in the clearing is an obstacle course looked like a sadistic way to kill someone slowly. Ino, you will be standing in front of this kunai thrower Anko-chan will operate. I want you to hold the lightning barrier jutsu I taught you as long as possible. Anko will also pelt you with kunai as the machine fires a constant stream of them so the shield must wrap around you. Sakura, you learned the Doden control exercise from Anko-chan. You will use that exercise to break everything from the pebbles to the boulder in your area. Hinata, for your safety, I have replaced all lethal devices in the obstacle course with rubber batons. You will run this course and carefully navigate the obstacle course, cautiously avoiding any traps that make spring at the small touch of a string, platform, or trigger mechanism. I want you to forget about the gentle fist as you pass through this course. Focus on moving swiftly instead with the stiff movements of your family style. The girls nodded as they began their tasks. Naruto had taught the girls some elemental jutsu to match their affinities. Ino learned the lightning barrier, Sakura the mud wall, and Hinata the water bullet. An hour later, Naruto came back to check on the clearing to see if the girls had progressed. The girls were on the ground, breathing hard. Naruto's sweat dropped as he healed the girls again. This is going to take a while. The Chunin exams are coming in 6 months. I'm positive they will be ready then. Meanwhile Kurenai and Anko were sitting at a booth in Anko's favorite dango bar. Naruto had let their team go home early after training hard. Naruto went home to finish the reverse seal he had created to release Kyuubi from the seal. The Sandaime had been given a heads up from Naruto, and after Naruto explained he loved her and that she didn't attack Konoha willingly, he relented. Naruto and Anko had kissed and Anko headed to the dango bar to chill while Naruto performed to unsealing rites. An hour later, Kyuubi lay in Naruto's arms as they slept peacefully. He now had 3 beautiful women in his life but had no idea he was about to get a 4th. Anko was eating dango while comforting Kurenai, who had broken up with Asuma after they had an argument about his smoking habits. Kurenai told him to quit or she would leave. He chose to continue smoking. Kurenai loved Asuma but his smoking made being around him so unbearable. I can't believe he chose his smokes, sobbed Kurenai as Anko hugged her friend. Kurenai had drunk several bottles of sake to drown her sorrow and was very drunk. Kurenai, I'm sure you will find the right guy soon. Forget the bastard. Come on, let me take you home, said Anko, pulling on of Kurenai's arms over her shoulders as she threw some ryo on the table to pay for their meal. On the way to Kurenai's apartment, Anko felt Kurenai slump onto her shoulder. Not wanting to let her wake up alone, Anko took her to the Namikaze compound. Naruto and Kyuubi had woken up and both raised an eyebrow as Anko half carried half dragged the black-haired Junin upstairs to Anko's room. Anko mouthed to Naruto that she would explain later. After tucking her friend in, she went to see her lover. She kissed Kyuubi on the cheek before kissing Naruto on the lips. So this is Kyuubi. Naruto has told me so much about you, said Anko, smiling at the red-haired beauty. Kyuubi had long red hair that reached the middle of her back. Blue slitted eyes smiled at Anko. A pair of red fox ears and a tail adorned her body. Her assets were pronounced threatening to burst the kimono she wore. Kyuubi kissed Anko on the cheek in return and grinned. I have heard and seen you through Naru-kun's eyes. It is a pleasure to meet you in person. Now to the question. Who is the woman you brought into the house and why? Asked Kyuubi. Anko grinned and sat down next to Naruto, who had his arms around both girls. She is a friend of mine and the Junin sensei of Team 8. She had a bad breakup and she drank too much. I did not want her to wake up alone, said Anko sighing. Naruto gave Anko's shoulder a gentle squeeze. You did the right thing, Anko Hime, he said, kissing her lips. In private he called her Hime and it made Anko feel so happy. Kyuubi nodded, seeing the logic in her fellow wife-to-be's actions. It's late, I'll start dinner. When Kurenai wakes up, bring her down to eat with us, said Naruto, moving into the kitchen. Kyuubi followed him to help him out. Anko went to the bathroom and grabbed a hangover pill and a glass of water from the kitchen and headed to where Kurenai slept. Kurenai woke up, feeling better, but her head was pounding. I must have drunk too much, thought Kurenai in hindsight. Anko entered the room and handed her the pill and glass of water. Hey Kurenai-chan, the pill will stop the hangover, she said. Kurenai gulped the pill down and downed the glass of water. Her hangover immediately subsided. Where am I? She asked her friend. I didn't want you to wake up alone. You're in my bed in the Namikaze compound. Anko gave Kurenai a moment to process the information. Kurenai's eyes widened as she looked around the richly decorated room. Come on Kurenai, Naruto-kun asked if you want to eat dinner with us, said Anko, dragging her red-eyed friend to the dining room. Naruto was setting the table as Kyuubi moved the food onto the table. He looked up and smiled as Kurenai entered with Anko. Ah, Kurenai-san, welcome to my humble home. Make yourself at home. Don't hesitate to ask for anything. A friend of Anko's is a friend of mine. Please sit anywhere you like, he said, smiling at her. Kurenai felt her cheeks heat up as Anko and Kyuubi got a glint in their eyes. Kurenai sat between Anko and Kyuubi. Oh, I forgot to introduce you to Q-Hime. Kurenai, this is Kyuubi. Q-Hime, this is Kurenai, the Junin sensei of Team 8. Kurenai stiffened at the mention of Kyuubi. Don't worry, Kurenai-san. She's harmless unless you hurt someone she cares about. The Sandame already knows, said Anko. Kurenai calmed down a bit as she muttered itadakimasu and dug into her plate. Kurenai's eyes widened as she began to eat with gusto. Who made this? She asked. Kyuubi and Anko pointed to Naruto as Kurenai's mind went a mile a minute. You cooked this, Naruto-kun. No offense, but I thought you only ate ramen, she said, slightly embarrassed. Anko inched closer to Kurenai until she was close to her ear. So it's Naruto-kun now? She asked, teasing her friend. Naruto watched, amused by Kurenai now red cheeks. I meant Naruto-san, she stuttered. It's already Kurenai-san. I don't mind. I learned to cook so I wouldn't have to eat ramen all the time. I can't grow if I eat only ramen, can I now? Kurenai nodded quickly to hide her red face. As the food disappeared, a second Naruto appeared from the kitchen and set down a large pie in the center of the table before dispelling. Naruto-kun's desserts are so good, said Anko, slightly drooling. Naruto cut everyone a generous piece and then served himself. Kurenai's mind started to shut down as she put a piece of the pie in her mouth. So good. I wish Asuma could cook like this and I didn't have to cook for us. Kurenai slapped herself mentally as she pulled feelings for the man who sat across from her. He is gentle, a great cook, a gentleman, and doesn't smoke, cares for his future wives, and put them first. What more could any woman ask for? Anko laughed internally as she watched her friend debate with herself. You know Kurenai-chan, Naruto-kun is under CRA and he still needs a few more women, Anko said aloud. Kurenai felt conflicted. She still was in a relationship and didn't use Naruto as a rebound boyfriend. Anko's offer was so enticing though. Naruto was everything she could want in a guy and plus he was popular among women in her age group. She felt awkward for crushing on Naruto, but hell, Anko was her age and Kyuubi was thousands of years old. She made her mind up and decided to give it a try. If Naruto-kun wants me as a wife, I have no objections, she said firmly. Welcome to the family, Kurenai-chan, said Kyuubi, kissing Kurenai on the cheek. How about we go on a date tomorrow for lunch to celebrate Kurenai-chan's induction into the family? Suggested Naruto, getting 3 happy nods. In the meantime, Kurenai-chan and I will go move her belongings into the compound. Anko and Kyubi nodded happily as they went about cleaning up. Naruto held Kurenai's hand as they went to her apartment to move her stuff into her new home. Kurenai unlocked her apartment door and Naruto created an army of clones to gather her belongings up. In 5 minutes, her apartment was bare and they exited and she handed in her apartment keys and cancelled her contract. They left her apartment and headed for Naruto's home. That evening Kurenai settled in and her fellow girls showed her around the compound. An hour, the girls were relaxing in the onsen that was in the back of the main house. This is so relaxing, said Kurenai as she soaked with Anko and Kyubi. Too bad Mei couldn't be here. She loves the onsen, said Anko smirking. So who is Mei? She's the Mizukage and one of Naruto's fiancés. Kurenai's eyes widened. He's going to be married to a Kage. Yeah, I'm jealous that I could be Naruto's first wife to be. The girls stayed in a bit longer before exiting and going to the dinner room after toweling off and dressing. The girls had another delicious meal and went to bed. Kurenai went into her room but saw Anko and Kyubi going into Naruto's room. Why are you going into Naruto-kun's room? She asked. We sleep next to him. He doesn't mind, said Kyubi winking. Kurenai blushed and pulled a hinata poking her index fingers together. Will Naruto-kun mind if I slept in his room? She asked in a small voice. The others dragged her into his room as Naruto exited the attached bathroom, shirtless. He rubbed his hair with a towel as he searched for a shirt. As he pulled a shirt on, he saw Kurenai staring at his abs. He is a god with those abs. She thought, drooling. Naruto pulled his shirt down and climbed into the bed. Like what you saw? He asked in a husky voice. Kurenai could only nod as he slid into the middle of the bed. Since you're the newest here, you get to sleep on his chest for tonight only. We switch nightly, said Anko seeing Kurenai nod vigorously. She had known that Naruto had an advanced henge that could turn him into a girl for real but didn't expect what she saw next. Naruto called out Kai and her jaw dropped. Naruto was taller than all three of them, had a pair of blonde fox ears and 9 fox tails. He looked older and had more muscle. This is his real form, Kurenai. He doesn't show it to just anyone, said Kyubi as she and Anko latched onto Naruto's arms as Kurenai lay on his chest. A tail wrapped around the girls protectively. Kurenai petted his tail that had coiled around her as she slipped into a slumber. The next morning they all awoke to find Naruto gone. Kurenai pouted as she smelled the pillow Naruto slept on. The girls got up to find Naruto was in the kitchen finishing up breakfast. Good morning, Anko Heim, Kyubi Heim, Kurenai Heim. Breakfast is almost done, he said with a smile. Kurenai turned red at the Heim suffix Naruto added to her name. The girls sat down in front of plate of eggs, ham, and a little something special that they all liked along with a glass of fresh orange juice. Anko happily ate her dango along with everything on the plate. Kyubi sliced up her steak and put a bit over everything on her plate on the piece on her fork before eating it. Kurenai ate her takawasa slowly savoring the flavor as she ate the other things on her plate well, sipping on her orange juice in between bits of different foods. The three girls freshened up as they headed in separate ways, Kyubi staying home, holding down the fort so to speak. Kurenai kissed Naruto on the lips before headed to meet her team. Anko and Naruto jumped into action, ready to train their team to become the top kunoichi. Every day for a month, Naruto and Anko trained the girls strictly. The trio of girls quickly progressed. Ino learned to hold her lightning shield up for 5 minutes and could extend it around allies. Ino had also learned to turn the shield into a wall of lightning, turning her defense jutsu into an offense one. Sakura had dropped her fangirl attitude and had shaped up well. Naruto had created her a seal that he put on her gauntlets so she could begin to learn how to expel chakra out of her fists and feet to boost her strength. Hinata changed the most. She had become more confident and had excelled in bojutsu, even incorporating into her taijutsu. Naruto had started teaching her his own taijutsu style and combined it with her original one, hoping Hinata could create her own style. Good morning, Naruto-sensei, Anko-sensei. The girls chorused happily as the couple appeared in a shunshin. Alright brats, today we are doing some sparring. You won't have to do any of my exercises, said Anko as the trio of genin inwardly sighed in relief. All of you have to come at me with the intent to kill or you won't be able to touch me, said Naruto while Anko sat in a tree, spectating. The three genin came at him in an organized fashion. Ino sought to immobilize him, Sakura to pound him into submission, and Hinata to slow his movements. Naruto grinned as he unsealed his scythes and connected them. He watched the girls take out their weapons as well. Naruto rushed toward them expertly blocking and counter-attacking, but made sure that all of his attacks only cut them in non-vital areas. The girls attacked as a team interchanging who attacked or supported. Naruto shunshin from inside Ino's lightning prison and dodged Sakura's chakra-enhanced fist, which ground a nearby stump into fine particles. Hinata had gotten a hit on Naruto, paralyzing his right hand, but a burst of chakra into a seal on his fingerless glove unsealed his tenketsu. The spar continued for a good 2 hours, after which the team's genin collapsed in exhaustion as Naruto healed them. Good job. Even though you did not land any devastating blows, I am proud that you worked as a team and landed a few solid hits, said Naruto. Let's go eat. My treat. Anko leapt from the tree into Naruto's arms. Let's meet at the barbecue place, said Anko as she and Naruto disappeared in a tornado of leaves. The girls headed for the restaurant which was ran by Choji's clan. Team 11 had lunch there and left satisfied. Naruto headed back to the complex to find Mei in front of his home. Kyuubi was talking with her animatedly. Kurenai, Anko, and Naruto had walked to the compound together. Mei Haim, you're here. What's the occasion? Asked Naruto. I can't see my fiancé, said Mei with a mock pout, making Naruto's other girls giggled as Naruto stuttered, trying to form intelligent sentences. Mei kissed him, silencing his attempts. How about you show me around? She said in a voice. Alright, said Naruto composing himself. His 4 girls entered in after him as the gates closed after them. Mei dabbed her mouth with a napkin as she sighed, remembered the dessert she just had. I will have come more often, Naruto-kun, said Mei as she left the compound. The 3 remaining girls waved goodbye and headed inside for a nice soak in the onsen. As they readied for bed they heard Naruto turn on the shower in his room and a devilish grin spread across Anko's face. She crept into the bathroom as Naruto was using the shower to clean himself and then sneaked out in shock. The other girls saw Anko sneak out and asked, Anko, what were you just doing there? Asked Kyuubi. Anko's face light up red as she motioned for the girls to come closer. I snuck a peek of Naruto in the shower. He's huge. I'm not sure if it will even fit. She whispered as the other girls blushed, imagining Naruto in the. How big was he? Asked Kyuubi. Anko used her hands to indicate the size and the girls turned red and started to fantasize about being that intimate with him. They heard Naruto shut off the shower and quickly slipped into his bed. Anko slept on top of Naruto tonight while Kurenai and Kyuubi took his arms. They cursed the light in the morning as they rose from bed. They quickly recovered when the aroma of Naruto's cooking filled the air. There was only 4 months until Chunin exams and Anko and Naruto pulled their team harder. They had started D-rank missions today. The girls pulled weeds while Naruto tackled plowing the de-weeded part of the field. 5 D-rank missions later they called it a day. Naruto had told the girls to think of the D-rank missions as ways to train the different aspects of a ninja. The weeding helped with patience and strength. The carrying of cement to and from a store worked on speed. Capturing the stray cows emphasized skill. The shearing of sheep worked on precision. The capturing of Tora the cat demon cat needed a combination of stealth, agility, and smarts. Thankfully the girls used their heads and bought a fish for the cat before they started. Tora ate the fish happily as he was brought back to his owner. Well before he was in the woman's arms. Miss, said Naruto. If you hold him gently and squeeze him, he won't feel uncomfortable. The daimyo's wife took the advice to heart and Tora went home with her purring the whole way. She left Team 11 triple the money she had promised. The Sandame looked at Naruto while shaking his head. Only you would have big enough balls to tell the daimyo's wife what to do, he said, earning a giggle from Anko, who knew the cat's discomfort with the portly woman. At the end of month 2, Team 11 had enough D-rank missions to go on a low C-rank mission. Show the client in, please, said the Sandame as the secretary sent in a drunken man with glasses and a bottle of sake in his hands. So these are my protectors. Ha! They all look like weak. Ino used the lightning blade jutsu to cut the bottle at the neck, spilling the contents and shattering the detached part of the bottle. Please do not underestimate us, client-san. We are trained by the best and we will protect you with our lives, said Ino. Over a 2-month period the girls grew exponentially. Ino had learned 10D and C-rank lightning jutsu, Sakura had accumulated C-rank 10 earth jutsu, and Hinata and learned 10 C-rank water jutsu. Naruto never played favorites and taught each girl the same amount of jutsu. Alright then, my name is Tazuna, the super bridge builder. I'm trying to build a bridge and I want you to protect me, he said. Naruto turned to his genin students. I would like you bring supplies for a month. If you dismiss my words, you will regret it, not me, said Naruto. We'll meet at the south gate. The Junin of Team 11 went back home to pack for the mission. 10 minutes later, they all met again with Tazuna at gate 11. As they headed to Wave Country, Naruto's suspicion of the old man's story rose when they encountered a puddle in the middle of the road. The genin's observation skills had increased under Anko's ruthless instruction. 2 chakra signatures under the puddle, whispered Hinata. Ino readied the lightning prison while Sakura readied to create mud wall to prevent their enemy from escaping. Naruto approached the puddle as 2 men wearing gas masks appeared and seemingly killed him. Even with one of their sensei seemingly dead, Team 11 quickly moved into gear. The 2 men rushed Tazuna only to find themselves blocked by a wall of mud. Before they could react, a bubble of lightning engulfed the duo, preventing them from moving. Hinata moved in swiftly, filling the prison with water from her canteen to wet the inside of the prison, shocking the duo into blissful unconsciousness. Naruto emerged from the trees and quickly tied them up and signaled Anbu to pick them up. Slapping the unconscious men back into the world of the living, he unsheathed a kunai and plunged it into the arm of one of the men. Who sent you and why? Naruto growled, channeling chakra into his eyes, turning them into red slits. We were paid to kill Tazuna, said the unharmed one. Naruto glanced at their gauntlets and recalled their image in the bingo book. Ah, the demon brothers of mist have become Nukenin. Too bad you didn't hear of the ascension of the new Mizukage. Anko turned to a now trembling Tazuna. You said you needed protection. You didn't say that Nukenin were after you, said Anko, causing the bespectacled man to almost wet himself. Wave is being pillaged by Gato and we are too poor to afford the mission pay for a higher rank, said Tazuna shakily. Gato as in the businessman Gato? Asked Naruto. Yes. He pretends to be a legit business owner, but he really is a tyrant who uses bandits and other hired muscle to take over Wave's trading posts and docks. He's ruined our economy and killed anyone who's tried to revolt. Naruto nodded and turned to his students. It is up to you 3 if you want to continue the mission. If not, Anko and I will do it ourselves and Anbu will escort you home. Hinata spoke up first. We can't let a bully push around helpless people. We are ninja and we should help the weak, said Hinata confidently. Ino and Sakura nodded in agreement. All right then, Tazuna, we will overlook the pay until Wave recovers from this tyranny. We will help Wave rid itself of this parasite, said Naruto. Lead the way to the bridge, Tazuna-san. About 3/4 of the way to Tazuna's work site, Naruto hears tussling from a bush. Tossing a kunai into the brush, he sees a white rabbit jump out. Naruto pulls Tazuna down as Anko pulls herself and their genin to the ground as a large Zanbato lodges itself into a tree mere inches from where Tazuna stood. A large man with white bandage around his mouth and nose appeared and pulled out the Zanbato from the tree. Hand over the bridge builder and you'll all live another day, said the man shouldering the massive blade. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of bloody mist. Junin Rankin is a Nukenin. You attempted to kill the Mizukage in a failed coup. It's impressive for one of the 7 swordsmen of mist but not good enough. I'm sure you've heard of me, Zabuza-san and my fiancé, said Naruto unsealing his signature weapon. Ah Enko Mitarashi, I know you, but this small boy is your fiancé. You surely have a bad choice in men, said Zabuza until he looked at the double-sided scythe staff Naruto held. You're the Fuiunjutsu god of Konoha. I'm surprised though, I thought you were taller. Never mind that. Hand over the old man, said Zabuza. Ino, Sakura, and Hinata guard the old man please. We'll deal with this supposed demon, said Naruto earning a glare from Zabuza. Alright brat, let's go. I'm not taking trash talk from a punk like you, said Zabuza as he jumped back and created a thick mist. The mist obscured all vision as Zabuza's voice rang through the thick mist. Heart, liver, spleen, lungs, brain, jugular, kidneys, and head are the 8 points of death. What should I choose? Came an eerie voice. Futen. Great wind breakthrough, shouted Naruto as the mist was dissipated. Naruto saw 3 Zabuza clones but knew they weren't real. Futen. Wind cutter. Naruto had cut the copies and dispelled them, forcing Zabuza to come out. Zabuza swung his blade down as Naruto parried at the side, causing the Nukenin to jump back. Naruto blasted the Zanbato with a compressed ball of wind, causing Zabuza's sword arm to throw him off balance. Seeing an opening, Enko used her hidden snake hands technique to bind the Nukenin as Naruto slapped a chakra sealing array on the man. Naruto then put another seal array on Zabuza, immobilizing him. Naruto sealed the massive blade into a scroll and shouldered the taller man. How about you come on out now, said Naruto as a hunterman with insignia denoting his loyalty to mist stepped out from the trees. Thank you capturing Zabuza. I have tracked him for days, said a feminine voice behind the blank mask. Normally I would hand him over, but you are not a real hunterman, ninja-san. The mist insignia for hunterman changed with the new Mizukage, who happens to be my fiancé as well, said Naruto as Zabuza's eyes widened. The hunterman gave no indication of his surprise, but behind the mask, Zabuza's apprentice was sweating. If you abandon whoever employed you, I will put in a good word with the Mizukage. I'm sure she is willing to take you back as a mist ninja. Zabuza's mind ran miles per minute. He wouldn't have to dodge hunterman for the rest of his natural life. Gaki, give me until tomorrow to answer, said Zabuza. The 2 former mist ninja left after Naruto took off the seals. That night Naruto was out enjoying nature when the fake hunterman approached him under the guise of picking herbs. Ninja-san, what can I do for you? Asked Naruto. My name is Haku and I have a message from Zabuza for you. Gato will die at the bridge tomorrow, said Haku. I see that my offer was taken. My name is Naruto by the way, said Naruto. Gato plans on betraying us. We heard him say it while he was drunk. Naruto nodded. Haku-chan, tell him to bring in his army of thugs to the bridge, he said. I'm a boy Naruto-san. Naruto's sweat dropped. He dresses pretty girly for a boy. Tell Zabuza that he keeps his end of the bargain, I'll keep mine. Haku nodded and walked away in the forest, only to turn around to ask Naruto another question. Do you have precious people, Naruto-san? Haku asked. I do Haku-san and I would give my life for them. I see. That is what makes you strong Naruto-san, said Haku before disappearing into the forest. Naruto entered the house that Tsunade had taken to after the fight with Zabuza. Tsunami had announced supper was on and he said a quick itadakimasu before slowly eating the delicious meal. Why do you even try? Asked a small boy. What do you mean? Asked Naruto, his attention now on the boy. Gato will only kill you. No one has ever stood up to him and lived. The boy screamed. Inari, be nice to our guests, scolded Tsunami, Inari's mother. Inari, how old do you think I am? Asked Naruto. I don't know, maybe 13, said Inari. Naruto undid his Junin vest and pulled off his shirt to show Inari scars all over his chest. I was beaten for something I couldn't control Inari and I survived. Gato is nothing compared to other people. He hides behind an army, too cowardly to fight himself. I fought through all the pain you have now. I moved on using the love of my precious people. How will you cope? Naruto walked out of the house after he redressed. Anko had seen the scars and didn't flinch. However, all of her students were in tears. He was beaten? Asked the girls in between sobs. Yes, I don't know the story, but then again it's not place to tell it. I'm going to go check on him. Stay here. Anko headed outside to find Naruto on the roof of the house staring at the star-filled sky. Anko sat down next to her lover. You okay, Naruto-kun? She asked. Yeah, I'm fine now, Anko-chan. I'm just angry at how Inari still has family and he doesn't cherish them. I have you, Kurenai-chan, Kyuubi-chan, and Mei-chan, but I don't have any relatives. I would give anything to meet my parents, said Naruto quietly. Anko hugged her fiancé tightly as they looked at the stars before turning in for the night. The morning started with a scream that woke both Junin. Naruto crept down the stairs to find two thugs holding Inari hostage. Gato needs a hostage, but one will suffice, said a thug. Before he could unsheath his sword, the man's head had leapt off his shoulders into the arms of his partner, who dropped the head in fear as he felt cold metal pressed to his throat. Where's Gato now? Growled out Naruto as Anko ran to the bridge at neck-breaking speed. He's close to the bridge. There is nothing. The man's head joined his partner's on the floor. Sorry for the mess, said Naruto as he burned the corpses with a Kaden jutsu. Naruto headed to the bridge to find Zabuza fighting Anko while Haku was fighting his students. He jumped to Anko's position and unsealed his weapon. What is the meaning of this? Hissed Naruto. Zabuza's eyes looked at him and then behind him. Play along, whispered Zabuza as Gato arrived with his army of hired muscle. So the demon of the mist couldn't handle some brats. I don't plan to pay you so you can die with them. Boys, leave the girls alive. They'll make good slaves, said a grinning Gato. Naruto's eyes turned into crimson slits as soon as the words left Gato's mouth. Zabuza and Haku turned around and cut down any oncoming thugs while the genin defended Tsunade. Anko had a kunai in both hands, mutilating any thug within her reach. Haku froze thugs that snuck up on Anko or Zabuza. Zabuza watched in awe as Naruto seemed to become the wind. Fuden. Shedding winds, shouted Naruto as everyone in his path was turned into mincemeat. He stood over Gato, who had pissed himself as his remaining guards were reduced to chunks of meat and bone. What was that about leaving the women? Asked Naruto in a slightly demonic tone. Please spare me. I can give you riches, women, power, land. Anything a man desires, said Gato. Really? Can you bring back all the people you killed in cold blood? Asked Naruto as his eyes glowed a malignant red. No? Then Dai Kami have mercy on your soul. Naruto knocked him to the ground as the villagers arrived, all armed with pitchfork, butcher knives, and other assorted pointy objects. Naruto threw a trembling Gato in front of the angry mob. He motioned for the pitchfork-carrying citizens to pin Gato up like he did to Inari's stepfather. Tsunade had told Team 11 the story after Naruto had gone outside. He's yours. Gato's screams could be heard across town as the mob slowly tortured him to death, then burning his still conscious body. The next morning, Mei was in Wave. Naruto had put a summoning seal on her desk so she could teleport to Naruto's location wherever he was. She was accompanied by a man with an eye patch and the last of the 7 swordsmen of Kiri that had stayed loyal to Mei in the Bloodline Wars. Naruto had sent her a message via said seal and she came immediately with her bodyguards. So this is who you wanted me to pardon, Naruto-kun? Asked Mei as her bodyguards and Zabuza's jaws dropped. You are engaged to Mei Terumi? Asked Zabuza. Yeah, she is the Mizukage, said Naruto as Mei kissed him. Zabuza, you really didn't do anything wrong but try to overthrow a tyrant in Kiri. Just come back to Kiri and we'll reinstate you and your apprentice there, said Mei looking at Haku. See Haku-kun, you can have a home to look forward to now, said Naruto. Haku looked at Zabuza who nodded answering an unasked question. Naruto-kun, I'm actually a girl. Zabuza-sama suggested I hide my gender so others wouldn't exploit it, said Haku as her cheeks reddened. As Naruto stood shocked by the revelation, Haku quickly stepped up to him and kissed him on the cheek, causing Naruto to turn crimson. You spared my precious person and I am in your debt. Anko and Mei's eyes lit up in jealousy. Naruto never let them kiss him before they were dating, actually Mei had kissed an unconscious Naruto but that didn't count. Zabuza and Mei's bodyguards laughed at Naruto's expense. Maybe she get married to you first, Gaki, said a laughing Zabuza. Naruto's two fiancés suddenly had an aura of death around them. Zabuza, said Anko in a sickly sweet voice. Aoi, said Mei with a smile. Shut up or we'll kill you, the two said in sync. The laughing stopped as the guards plus Zabuza turned pale at the thought of being beaten up by the two kunoichi. Zabuza, you are pardoned of all crimes of treason and are invited back to Kiri to resume your duties as a member of Kiri's 7 swordsmen. Haku may come with you if you desire, said Mei. Haku, you are released from me. You may go with Naruto if you choose, said Zabuza, earning him a hug from Haku. Oi, Gaki, you hurt her and I'll come for you, warned Zabuza as Naruto nodded. Mei headed back to Kiri with Zabuza in tow after kissing Naruto one more time. The day, Naruto created an army of shadow clones to help Tsunade finish the bridge with his workers. As Team 11 left with Haku in tow, all of Wave's citizens came to see them off. As they disappeared from sight, Tsunade wondered out loud. What should we name this bridge? He asked. The Great Naruto Bridge, said Inari as his eyes lit up. The crowd roared in approval. Team 11 arrived home a day later and the Izumi and Hagane grinned at Naruto's return. I see you got another woman in tow. What's your name, beauty? Asked Izumi. Haku looked at him with cold eyes. My name is none of your concern. I am Naruto's girl, said Haku hugging Naruto's arm, putting on a mock scared face as she told Naruto that he was hitting on her. Naruto laughed as Izumi had waterfall tears streaming down his face. Anko laughed at the Chunnin's attempt to flirt with Haku. Izumi, haven't you learned the last time you flirted with Mei who was at the gate? Asked Anko laughing at the memory. Mei had told her when she visited Konoha how one of the gate guards tried to hit on her. Izumi froze and then an aura of depression surrounded him. Naruto, you lucky dog, she was so hot too, muttered Izumi as he made marks in the ground with his fingers. Somewhere, a funeral bell rang for Izumi. We gathered today to mourn for Izumi's loss, said a group of Chunin. Well, we can't waste any time. The Hokage is expecting us, said Naruto as he and his team ran to the tower, with Haku following. Sarutobi sat at his desk surrounded by 3 shadow clones who read all the paperwork as he read his favorite student's book of smut. Naruto entered with his team, causing Sarutobi to quickly hide his book in a hidden drawer. Naruto laughed as Sarutobi quickly composed himself and looked at Naruto and Anko. Anko had an amused look across her face and Naruto shook his head with a smile. Gigi, you thought we were your secretary? Asked Naruto as Sarutobi paled and nodded. His secretary would burn any of the orange books she saw. Team 11 back from mission and reporting for duty, said Naruto. Sarutobi saw Haku and decided Naruto had an explanation and dismissed the genin. Who is this beautiful girl you have with you, Naruto? Asked the Sandame. Her name is Haku and she wants to become a medical ninja for Konoha, said Naruto. He retold Hiruzen the entire story as the old Hokage listened. So you're an orphan from Kiri. Do you have any dujutsu or anything similar? Asked the Sandame. Haku formed ice and bond between her fingers and handed them to the Sandame. I see you have the Hyouten bloodline. The last clan I heard of having a similar ability was Kiri's Yuki clan, but they're gone now, said Hiruzen sadly. So you are Naruto's new fiancé? Haku only nodded as she hugged Naruto's arm. Well, here's your Hite 8. Welcome to Konoha, Haku. I'll have someone from the hospital train you in the arts of medical jutsu, said Sarutobi. What rank is she roughly? A chunin, old man, said Anko. Sarutobi grabbed a chunin vest from a locker in the corner of the room and tossed it to Haku. Congratulations Haku, you are promoted to chunin. The three bowed and left as the Sandaime pulled out the orange book. Naruto, Anko, and Haku entered Naruto's compound as Haku looked around in awe. You live in this place? Asked a stunned Haku. Yeah, the place is huge. I'm sure Kurheim, Qheim, and Anko Heim will show you around, said Naruto as they entered the mansion. Welcome back, said Kyuubi and Kurenai taking turns kissing their man. Kurenai saw Haku first and introduced herself. My name is Kurenai and that is Kyuubi, said Kurenai hugging her newly inducted fellow wife-to-be. Kyuubi kissed Haku on the cheek and grabbed her hand dragging her through the house. Kurenai followed behind them as Anko lay down on Naruto's bed as Naruto gave her the best massage she ever felt. The other girls finished up giving Haku the tour and went into Naruto's room where Anko was ing from the almost erotic massage that Naruto gave Anko. Anko got up from the bed reluctantly and motioned for Haku to lie down and remove her shirt and bindings. As Haku slowly unwound her chest bindings, Anko and Kurenai's jealousy of Haku's bust line skyrocketed. Both women had an impressive C cup, but Haku definitely had a D cup that looked like a B cup under the bandages. Kyuubi had the biggest bust line of them all. D cup followed closely by Mei's impressive D cup that was a bit bigger than Haku, were tied at a C cup. Both women felt they were not good enough for Naruto, but he quickly assured them that regardless of their body shape and proportions he loved them all equally. Haku lay down as Naruto started the massage. Not wanting to leave anyone out, he created several clones that took the others to their rooms and massaged them as well. The girls' cries of pleasure filled the mansion, resonating off the walls. A group of women walked by and heard the S and quickened their pace, their cheeks reddened as naughty thoughts filled their heads. Naruto already had a fan club and it just got a bit larger. When they all came down from their massage-induced states, the girls all went on a date with Naruto, taking him on a shopping trip with them to find some new clothes for Haku. As they went through different stores to find different garments for their newest family member, Naruto ran into a nearby jewelry store, leaving a few clones to hold the bags of clothing that accumulated during the trip. He entered the store and stood in line to speak to the clerk. As he walked up to the desk, he was greeted with adoring eyes as she held out Naruto's book that he had published during the undercover mission at the academy. Anko had leaked out that Naruto was the author and he was flooded with women at the jewelry store asking for a signature. After he finished, he asked the clerk about custom jewelry pieces. She led him to the back where he spoke to the artisan who did custom orders. After giving him his orders and specifications, Naruto paid the man in advance and was told to come back in a few days. Naruto exited the store and caught up to the girls and was dragged into a lingerie store. The women around him giggled at his crimson cheeks as he was forced to give an opinion on intimate wear the girls chose for Haku. As he paid for the clothes and they left, the council was in disorder. The demon shouldn't be allowed to have wives, shouted the civilian council as the shinobi council shouted back at them. He is the son of the Yondaime and you abused him. Now he is no longer under your power and you revert back to your old ways, shouted Hiyashi. I don't see you trying to help me out, retorted the councilman as Hiyashi hung his head in shame for his past transgressions. Enough. Haku agreed to be his wife so it is settled, shouted the Hokage blasting the civilian council with ki. The demon should surrender the new girl to Sasuke-kun so he can rebuild his clan, said a fat merchant. He didn't have time to recant as his head left his body and tumbled onto the table, causing the civilian council to regurgitate their lunches on the ground. Naruto appeared from behind the man and went to stand next to the Sandaime. Your law is still active, right? Asked Naruto, getting a nod from Sarutobi. Ah, the council, what shit are you starting up now? Asked Naruto, unsealing his double scythes. You already have many powerful women as wives. Why not let the Uchiha have one to rebuild their clan? Said Danzo. The old war hawk found himself at the receiving end of one of Naruto's scythes. Clan rules states you must become a Junin to start a clan or rebuild one, and he is not even a Chunin yet. Don't give me that BS, Danzo-san. I suggest you turn off your stolen Sharingan eye before I remove your head from its rightful place, said Naruto in a calm tone. Danzo knew he was in deep shit now with the revealed secret of his bandaged eye and immediately called forth his root ninja to kill Naruto. His look of satisfaction became a look of horror when he found all of his root bodyguards killed, pinned to the wall with spears of ice. Haku-chan is not the only one who can use Hyouden. I also have mastered Hyouden thanks to Haku-chan's tutelage. Your schemes are uncovered and your route is finished. I'm sure you remember your best agent Sai. Well, Gigi here has got reports from him. As of now, your attempts in the past and present to kill me end now. Die, traitor. With that, Naruto channeled chakra into his scythes and cut off Danzo's injured arm. Danzo cursed as he unsheathed a hidden blade from his cane and charged Naruto, who fought him off. I should have been Hokage instead of Sarutobi. He's too soft. You should have been killed at day one. Spat Danzo venomously. Watch where you spat, traitor. Your saliva might be as potent as your words, joked Naruto. Danzo blasted him with a wind jutsu only to find Naruto was gone. Danzo tried to turn around but found he was unable to move. I'm not a Fuiunjutsu master for nothing. Fuiunjutsu. Bloodline Destroyer. Danzo's one surviving Sharingan eye and cells from the first Hokage in his body were destroyed. Anbu, take this traitor away and lock him up. I want him prepared for execution tomorrow morning, said the Sandame looking at Danzo with cold eyes. Yes, sir. The Anbu carried and immobilized Danzo to Anbu prison. Naruto unsealed a scroll and tossed it to the Hokage. Found this on a root ninja I killed a few moments ago, said Naruto. The Sandame's face grew red with rage as his hands shook. I want him executed tonight instead. The remaining Anbu moved into action. Foolish student, you will die this time for sure, Orochimaru. With Danzo dead, Anbu found the root base with Sai's assistance as he was a former member. They salvaged the place before destroying it. Danzo had been communicating with Orochimaru, who was now plotting somewhere in Rice Country to destroy Konoha. Danzo had come into an agreement with Orochimaru stating that if he could become the new Hokage, he would allow Orochimaru people to experiment on, starting with Naruto. Hiruzen had called back Jiraiya and asked him to take Naruto with him to find Tsunade. Naruto was met at the gate by his 4 Tsun wives and each kissed him goodbye before he embarked on a journey with Jiraiya. As the two embarked towards Tsunade's last known location, Jiraiya struck up a conversation with Naruto. Hey Naruto, how about learning one of your father's greatest creations? Asked Jiraiya. Which one? Asked Naruto, spiking Jiraiya's interest. How about learning the Rasengan, Naruto? It was one of his best techniques, said Jiraiya. He formed a sphere of chakra in his palm and hit a rock with the Rasengan, showing Naruto its destructive powers. There are 3 stages to learning this: rotation, power, and shape manipulation. Jiraiya tossed Naruto a water-filled balloon. Jiraiya began to explain to Naruto that he had to rotate the water inside when he heard a pop. It's supposed to explode, right, Arrow Senin? Asked Naruto. Don't call me that. Here, the next state is power. Pop this rubber ball the same way as you did with the balloon. Jiraiya tossed Naruto a rubber ball and watched in fascination as Naruto made the rubber ball explode violently. Jiraiya then handed Naruto a flat balloon. The key here is to combine the first 2 stages together but hold it in a spherical shape. As they entered Tanzuka village, Naruto continued to work on the last part of the Rasengan. Naruto, I'm going have a look around, so here's some money for a room at the hotel ahead of us. Ask for room number 45, said Jiraiya as he went off in a different direction. He's probably going to go have fun or peek. Naruto entered the hotel and did what Jiraiya had asked of him, booking room 45. Naruto threw his stuff onto one of the beds before he sat on the floor and spread out some of the work he brought to keep him busy. He was working on a seal that blocked any dujutsu from working if it was pointed at Naruto. He finished it and quickly cut himself with a kunai and mixed the drop of blood into the sealing ink he brought. He drew the seal onto his skin, on his left forearm. An hour later, Naruto heard a loud knock. Assuming Jiraiya had come back from his drunken debauchery, he opened the door, but instead of the Sennin, two men with straw hats and a cloak with red clouds on it stood in front of Naruto. Naruto-kun, I'm afraid you will have to come with us, said the taller of the two men. So you're Itachi. I assume sushi over there is Kisame, said Naruto, getting a growl from the shark man. That's right. Itachi, can I cut his legs off? He doesn't need them to live, said Kisame. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he quickly unsealed his staff and jumped out the window. The two men quickly followed suit. Naruto ran to the back of the hotel where it was deserted. All right, since you two seem to be up to no good, you have to kill me first, said Naruto, twirling his scythed staff. Fuiunjutsu, paralyzing seal. Kisame found he was unable to use his arms to wield his sword. He decided to let Itachi handle this one. Don't make me use force, said Itachi, turning on his Sharingan. Ah, so you have the Mangekyo Sharingan. Let's see if my Fuiunjutsu is sufficient, said Naruto. Itachi didn't show any outward emotion, but inside he was panicking. I can't see him at all. It is as if Naruto has disappeared from sight. I'm still here. Let's see you try to hit what you can't see. Tsukuyomi, said Itachi in a calm tone. He then suddenly clenched his eyes shut as blood seeped from the corners of his sockets. The seal I have on counters any attempts by any dujutsu user to see me while their dujutsu is active. It casts a blinding light that burns the retina. Prolonged exposure will cause permanent blindness, explained Naruto. Itachi leapt to Kisami's location and grabbed a hold of him. We are clearly outclassed, Kisame. We must retreat for now. With that, the two disappeared. Jiraiya appeared shortly after their disappearance. Oh, you decide to show up after they left, said Naruto sarcastically. Sorry about that, Naruto, but I found Tsunade. She's in a bar not far from the hotel, said Jiraiya. As they walked towards the bar Tsunade was spotted in, Naruto couldn't help but wonder why Itachi had defected. He was a loyal ninja of Konoha. He concluded that the Sandaime could shed further light on the subject. He would have to wait on that matter. The slug Sennin had appeared and Konoha needed her. The two walked into the bar and quickly spotted Tsunade and her apprentice. Jiraiya, exclaimed a surprised Tsunade and Shizune, her apprentice. Tsunade Haim, it's been a long time. The village needs you, said Jiraiya. I'll never step foot in that village again. I've lost too many precious people. Dan and Nawaki died for Konoha, their dreams of being Hokage dashed. I will not go back, she said. The pervert didn't say anything about being Hokage, said Naruto, appearing at Jiraiya's side. I still refuse. The Hokage asked us to bring you back. Orochimaru's been spotted and he plans to destroy Konoha. The old man is a fool for not killing him before. It is not my problem, said Tsunade. Naruto slapped her across the face as her apprentice and Jiraiya gasped. You disrespectful woman, the Hokage is no fool. He and the other Hokage before him dedicated their lives to the village. My father died so that the village would continue to prosper. However, they couldn't respect his dying wish. That is not the point, and Gigi just asked for you to come back, said Naruto. Tsunade's face turned red with rage as she stood up, towering over Naruto. Ballsy brat, let's take this outside, she said. Tsunade and Naruto went outside, followed by a nervous Jiraiya and Shizune. Hey kid, you don't know what you are getting into. Tsunade is one of the Sannin, said Jiraiya. And yet I outclass you in Fuiunjutsu, pervy sage, said Naruto, grinning at Jiraiya. Alright Tsunade, I'll make you a bet. If you win, I'll pay off your debts and you are free to leave. Jiraiya and I will forget we ever saw you. However, if I win, you will come with us to Konoha. I will also pay for your debts. I can't have one of the senin owing money. Tsunade smirked. The deal was just too good to pass up. Done, brat. I will only have to use one finger to stop you. Naruto nodded and signaled Jiraiya to start the match. As Jiraiya yelled for them to start, Naruto dashed forward, using his mastery of Suiten Jutsu to manipulate his seal, drawing ink out of its container into the air. Fuiunjutsu. Wind palm strike array. Yelled Naruto. He manipulated the ink into a floating array. Tsunade's eyes widened as she was blasted with a concentrated stream of wind that pushed her back as she tried to secure herself to the ground with chakra. Her feet dug trenches as she slid back. She came to a stop and a tick appeared as she rushed toward Naruto. As she closed in, she moved to Naruto's forehead. Naruto smirked as he created a perfect Rasengan and infused a small amount of water chakra into it. Rasengan. Crashing tides, said Naruto as he thrust the sphere into Tsunade's abdomen. Tsunade grunted and her eyes widened with surprise as Jiraiya's and Shizune's eyes also widened. Kid tricked me. He already knew the Rasengan, thought Jiraiya as he watched his teammate crash into the trees behind her. Tsunade quickly got up from her crater among the trees and charged at Naruto, a fist back to deliver a chakra-enhanced blow. Naruto created another seal array, this time fusing it to his skin. Fuiunjutsu. Force absorption array. Tsunade's fist landed on Naruto's stomach but nothing happened. The seal Naruto drew on himself glowed a bright red before it dissipated into nothing. Naruto rubbed the place where Tsunade had hit him. See, not a scratch, said Naruto. You lose. Naruto suddenly collapsed unconscious as Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune rushed to his side. Naruto. Naruto's eyes cracked open as he groaned. Did you get the ID of the ninja that hit me? Said Naruto jokingly. Tsunade stood over Naruto with amused eyes. What keeps you going, brat? She asked. My precious people, I'm engaged to 5 girls. If I was to die, they would bring back from the dead and kill me themselves, said Naruto chuckling. Anko-chan would probably torture me for days. Tsunade's eyebrows rose as she looked at Naruto then at Jiraiya. He's married to 5 women. She asked. Yeah, said Jiraiya. 5 women who are all considerably older than him by at least 3 years or more. Tsunade's eyes widened when she looked at Naruto. What do you aspire to be? She asked gently. I will be Hokage just like my father and become Konoha's greatest Hokage in history, said Naruto beaming. Tsunade suddenly saw her brother and Dan in Naruto as he said that. Tsunade asked Jiraiya and Shizune to leave as she began to a medical jutsu to scan Naruto's body for any anomalies. Why do you want to be Hokage so bad, Naruto? She asked as she continued her work. I want to bring peace to everyone, including you, Tsunade-chan, said Naruto. I'm sorry for slapping you before, but the past is the past and you need to move on. You are only hurting yourself and I have been there. I want to save you from yourself. Tsunade finished up her examination of Naruto and he sat up. Quickly sealing the room from intrusion and sounds that might leak out with a few hand signs, Naruto sat next to Tsunade on the bed. Tsunade-chan, I would like to give you a second chance at life. A literal rebirth. Will you accept? Asked Naruto. Tsunade sat quietly as she pondered the offer. On the inside, she was ecstatic about getting another chance to be young again, but memories of Dan and Nawaki surfaced. What about Dan and my brother? She asked in almost a whisper. I'm sure Dan and your brother wouldn't want you to be sad and lonely. I'm sure they want you to move on, said Naruto touching Tsunade's hand. They want you to be happy. So let me make you happy so you can carry on their memory. Naruto made several strange hand seals that Tsunade had never seen before. Fukusanikusu no Ririsu. Rebirth. Said Naruto before he kissed Tsunade on the lips. Tsunade's eyes opened wide as Naruto kissed her, but she soon melted into the kiss. The two started to glow white and Tsunade closed her eyes shut as the light became a blinding white. Tsunade woke up the next morning with Shizune sitting next to her asleep in a chair next to her. Naruto had disappeared but left a note. Drop your henge. Naruto. Tsunade cancelled her henge as she went into the bathroom. Her mouth could not form words as she touched her face. Her wrinkles had disappeared. Her hair had become as soft as it was when she was 25. All signs of aging had disappeared and she had reverted to the age of 25. Shizune had entered the bathroom to check on her master and was equally speechless. "What happened to you?" asked Shizune when she finally was able to form words. "Naruto," said Tsunade as she continued to stare at her image in the mirror. Naruto was outside working on the wind-natured Rasengan with Jiraiya. "Why did you ask me teach you to learn the Rasengan when you already knew it?" asked Jiraiya as Jiraiya stopped his work. "I already learned the Rasengan, but without your help I would not have been about to power down the Rasengan and not hurt Tsunade-chan," said Naruto. He created the same water-natured Rasengan and thrust it against a large boulder. The rock shook violently and was suddenly ground to dust from the Rasengan thrust into its center. Jiraiya looked at the rock, then remembered the Rasengan that Naruto used on Tsunade. "So that's why you wanted my training. I see what you did. You learned to minimize damage while still keeping it from destabilizing and seriously hurt either of you," said Jiraiya as he thought back to the fight. "Right, but even though I have figured that out, I can't do the wind-natured Rasengan yet. The last time I tried this one, I had to get Q-chan to heal me. My whole arm was riddled with countless cuts and they all stung for weeks," said Naruto. Jiraiya pictured a wind-natured Rasengan in his mind and came up with a few ideas to stabilize it. "When you put wind chakra into the Rasengan, what kind of rotation did you put on it?" the Sennin asked. "I think I rotated it in multiple directions. Oh shit, that's why I never got it. It stopped the Rasengan from rotating and destabilized on me. Right, so if you let the wind-natured chakra move in the same direction as the Rasengan, then it will continue to rotate without you killing yourself." Tsunade came upon the pervert, as she entitled Jiraiya and Naruto in a discussion about the Rasengan. "Hey Naruto-kun," said Tsunade as her apprentices and Jiraiya's jaw dropped at the affectionate suffix she added to Naruto's name. Jiraiya snapped out of his daze and his mind almost stopped functioning. Tsunade was looked as if she had become 25 again. He watched in jealousy as she went up to Naruto and pecked the blonde on his lips, turning his face a scarlet red as she giggled. "You're so lucky, brat. Even I, the great Jiraiya, could not do that." Tsunade saw the look on his face and as if she read his mind said, "It's because Naruto-kun knows how to treat a woman right, not ask her to reveal herself." Tsunade let that sink in as she turned her attention back to Naruto. Jiraiya had streams of tears coming from his eyes. "I'm sorry Tsunade-chan for kissing you, but that was the only way to use that jutsu. I apologize if I have offended you," said Naruto bowing before her. Tsunade felt smug on the inside as she denied Jiraiya. Jiraiya cried waterfall tears as she kissed Naruto on the cheek, telling him that it was okay if it was him. "As promised, I'll pay for your debt. Could you show me to the nearest casino?" asked Naruto as Tsunade nodded. The four of them entered a casino Tsunade had frequented. "So this called blackjack?" asked Naruto as the dealer handed him 2 cards. "Yes, to win your cards must equal 21. If you go higher you bust and lose. If you are lower and someone has higher cards within the range you lose," explained Tsunade. "Then I win, right? 21, said Naruto laying his cards down. The other players looked at Naruto in shock as he racked in the cash. Naruto had bet 10 ryo and had gotten the pot of 20,000 ryo. Naruto left the table and carried his ryo to a roulette table. Tsunade again explained the rules to Naruto, who nodded a picked one number, putting his chips he got from exchanging all his cash. "N number 15 red wins," said the man spinning the roulette wheel in disbelief. Naruto played once more and took the 50,000 he earned to the poker table. It seemed that Naruto had lady luck on his side. Every game or slot machine he sat at rained money on him. The owner of the casino came out when he got a call that someone was cleaning the casino out and challenged him for the now 1 million ryo Naruto had accumulated in a mere hour of playing. "I got a deal for you, kid. You play a game of poker with me, and if you win, I'll give you the deed to this casino, the hotel next to this place, and the trendy kimono shop I own here. You lose, and the only penalty you pay is the cash you won tonight. Deal, said the owner, confident the rookie would lose. Deal. The owner set up a game and had one of his dealers deal the cards to him and Naruto. Four of a kind, said the owner. What is this called? Asked Naruto as he laid down his cards. Tsunade gasped quietly as the owner nearly pissed himself. Naruto had gotten a royal flush and had beaten him. Here you go, kid. Keep the cash. You are now the owner of this casino, the hotel next to it, and the kimono store. Don't worry about me. I got another casino in a nearby town. My staff is now yours. Thanks for the great game. I have never played against anyone as good as you are. Naruto tucked the deeds into a pouch on his pants and asked Tsunade to lead him to another casino. This time they were in another close village playing in a huge casino with multiple floors. Unknown to Naruto and his group, this casino grew large because several of the players were professionals that worked for the casino and cheated with ease to win the casino billions of Ryo. They had met their match today. Naruto followed the same routine he used at the last casino. By the end of the day, he had cleaned them out. Several owners in the town had hands in the dirty business and feared Naruto's lucky streak they thought he had. They all challenged him and each one lost their businesses to Naruto. One owner had a hand in the operation to help out his ailing family. Naruto refused to take his business from him. Naruto had given him the deed from a rival store that had stolen their customers by sending in their employees disguised as customers to spy on their prices and lower theirs. The man thanked Naruto immensely while Naruto said that he was doing because he couldn't bear to see anyone suffer. The group entered Konoha a month after embarking on a search for Tsunade. Tsunade came up with a cover story for her appearance that her sensei could tell the council without them hounding Naruto. Since the Senju compound was destroyed in the Kyuubi attack 13 years ago, she opted to stay with Naruto, who had offered her and Shizune a room to themselves. Naruto, Tsunade, and Shizune entered Naruto's compound after reporting to the Sandaime. Naruto's fiancés surrounded him and each took a turn kissing him affectionately. Welcome back, Naruto-kun, they said in unison. Oh girls, we have two people who will be staying here from now on. Tsunade-chan, Shizune-chan, these are my fiancés, well, the ones who live in Konoha. I'm engaged to the Mizukage, but that's a story for another day. The woman with the gorgeous purple hair is Anko. The red-eyed goddess is Kurenai. Haku is my ice queen. The last woman is my gorgeous crimson-haired beauty Q-chan. I'm sure you remember her, said Naruto. Before his new guests could flinch, he explained from the beginning. After he finished speaking, both his new guests were feeling more comfortable around the queen of the Biju. Girls, if you would be so kind to show our lovely guests around the house. We don't want them looking for the restroom or the onsen in vain. The girls escorted their new housemates around the mansion while Naruto fixed up their rooms. The girls finished up the tour and led them upstairs where Naruto waited. Tsunade-chan, your room is this one. Shizune, yours is right across from Tsunade-chan's. Dinner is at 6:30, so be sure to come down to the dining room, said Naruto after he finished showing them their rooms. The two women settled in and went about their routine until a shout announcing dinner was ready reached them. They headed to the dining room to see Naruto and Kyuubi putting platters of exquisite on the table. Anko sat next to Naruto with Kyuubi to his right with Shizune and Tsunade sitting across from Naruto. They all said itadakimasu before they dug into their food. Tsunade and Shizune commented the food upon taking a bite of the food they put on their plate. Who made this? Asked Tsunade as she ate a kashiaki. It's a dumpling with octopus in it. It's made from an egg-rich batter and dipped into dashi before eating. Dashi is a thin fish broth. Naruto's the cook around here. He makes great desserts, said Anko drooling. Kurenai sighed as Anko snapped out of her stupor and wiped the saliva that had made its way down her chin. Naruto just looked on with an amused smile on his face. Tsunade, Shizune entered the onsen and found Naruto's fiancés relaxing in the large onsen. They entered in and relaxed as well. Kyuubi was the first to start the conversation. I assume your appearance is due to Naruto. Tsunade looked at Kyuubi with a look of interest. Yes, but how did you know? The jutsu he used on you was part of a collection of jutsu from Uzu he found. Apparently, Kami favored the Uzumaki clan and bestowed upon select members of the clan the ability to use the Phoenix Release. Just like a phoenix is reborn continuously, the Phoenix Release allows the user to reverse anyone's age as if they had reborn again. Not that you would have actually needed if you're here for what I think you are here for, said Kyuubi smirking as Tsunade turned red as Shizune looked at her master curiously. You're right. I love Naruto. He saved me from myself. He showed me that life was worth living even after my precious people died. I just love him, said Tsunade quietly as her cheeks reddened. The girls smirked as Kyuubi smiled. I see. There is still space left to become one of his wives, said Anko out loud. Really? Shouted Tsunade until she realized she shouted and composed herself. I mean, it is an interesting proposition. Kurenai, Haku, and Anko were giggling at Tsunade's outburst. Naruto is required to marry 8 girls before he turns 21. If you would like to become his fiancé, I'm sure he won't mind. The way he acts around you already told me his answer. So what is yours? Said Kyuubi. Yes, I want to Naruto's wife, said Tsunade with conviction. Welcome to the family then. You are more than welcome to sleep in Naruto's room. We all do. I'll leave my spot tonight so you can sleep on his chest, said Kurenai. Since Naruto's harem had grown, only 4 girls fit on the bed. 2 beside Naruto, 1 lying on top of him, and 1 lying across his thighs. So when Mei came to visit, the girl who slept on Naruto's chest most recently slept in their room so Mei could slept on his chest. Not that they minded. Haku turned out to be a great seamstress and she made everyone a foxy plushy doll of Naruto which the girls all slept with when not in Naruto's room. Haku handed Tsunade one and the seinen tucked it beneath her pillow for the nights she slept in her room. Tonight she would get to sleep in Naruto-kun's room. The next morning she woke from her slumber next to the 3 other girls that slept with Naruto on his bed. She rubbed her eyes as she sat up and replaced her clothes with casual wear. She wandered to the kitchen and found Naruto at the stove cooking breakfast. Good morning, Tsunade-chan, could you wake the others? Breakfast is ready, said Naruto as he set the dishes on the table. The girls all headed for the dining room after Tsunade roused them. Tsunade looked at her plate then at everyone else's as she savored her food. Naruto-kun went out of his way to make breakfast and even added a small side of what each of us like. Tsunade finished eating and helped Naruto clear the table. Just then, Anko appeared from the foyer. There's Anbu at the door asking for you too, she said as she headed out the IT department. Tsunade and Naruto went outside and saw Anbu at his gate. The Hokage wants to talk to us, asked Naruto as the Anbu nodded and disappeared in a shunshin. Naruto and Tsunade appeared inside the Sandame's office. The Sandame looked up from his Ika book to find an amused Naruto and a fuming Tsunade. Sensei, I can't believe you turned into a pervert, said Tsunade. Sarutobi quickly hid the book to avoid the wrath of Tsunade. As of now, we have discovered Danzo was a traitor and have executed him. In doing so and raiding his root headquarters, we found he has been in contact with Orochimaru and had planned a coup. I'm old now and I would like you Tsunade to become the next Hokage. Naruto meets all the qualifications but he is the sensei for a team. It has to be you. Jiraiya refused the job and the only other person that is qualified is Kakashi, said Hiruzen. I accept the job. After all, I can't let Kakashi take the job. From what Naruto-kun told me last night, he's chronically late, said Tsunade hugging Naruto. Naruto, you lucky dog. I see why Jiraiya was jealous. Anyone would gladly die to have the chance to be smothered in those pillows. Sarutobi quickly turned away, pretending to pick up a dropped document to wipe the blood that dripped from his nose. The secret to paperwork is shadow clones, Tsunade-chan, whispered Naruto to Tsunade. Tsunade kissed Naruto on the cheek in response. The three went through the technical work and Tsunade became officially the fifth Hokage of Konoha. Sarutobi told Tsunade his plan to fool Orochimaru into thinking that he was still the Hokage. He would attend in his Hokage robes and Tsunade would stay at his side dressed as she normally was. When the time came, they would kill Orochimaru together. Naruto proposed to create seals that would allow them to sap the snake Sennin's strength provided he remained in the cage box when the fight went down. The seals would go around the area and would be attuned to just Orochimaru's DNA. Since Naruto had some from the cursed seal he removed from Anko, he could make the seals. Tsunade and Sarutobi agreed saying the seals would give them an advantage. Gigi, if we know about Orochimaru's plot, what makes you sure he doesn't know about us hatching a counter-attack plan? Asked Naruto, causing the Sandaime to stop and think. We might have spies among us. We need to act like we don't know what's going to happen. That way we have the element of surprise on our side, said Naruto. Naruto had ordered special bracelets and necklaces for his fiancées a while ago. He had just picked up the order he put in for Tsunade and decided it was time to give them to his girls. So when he got home and all the girls had come home, he pulled out the small boxes they were in and hid them in the rooms of his fiancées under their pillows, knowing they would find them. And they did. They came squealing, wearing their new accessories, and laid kisses all over his face. Naruto never bought jewelry for its ability to enhance one's beauty. He bought battle jewelry that had a purpose. For Anko he had bought her a golden bracelet, but hidden within it was a small blade that extended from it when muscles in the wrist were moved and touched the trigger on the inside. Kurenai received a pair of earrings that allowed her store small amounts of chakra inside. The combined pools were capable of refilling her reserves to a third of its full capacity. Haku had gotten a necklace that was studded with fancy gems and had a unique crystal snowflake hanging from it. The snowflake was imbued with water-natured chakra and allowed Haku to draw water particles from the air or even from an enemy's body without having to be next to a major source of water. Kyuubi wore a choker necklace that had a ruby in its center. The gem allowed her to transfer her chakra to any of her fellow girls without harming them. Tsunade was gifted with a pendant that allowed Tsunade to store medical chakra that she could release to heal others and herself at a moment's notice. Naruto kept Mei gift with him to give her when she visited Konoha. A whole 4 months had passed. The remaining 2 months were set aside for his students to tweak their skills before the Chunin exams. Naruto had asked Kurenai to aid Anko during his absence. The girls had progressed further than he had imagined. Ino had learned several new lightning jutsu and her proficiency with barriers had increased. She was now about to encircle 4 people and hold it for 10 minutes. Sakura had gained headway in increasing her raw strength and learning earth jutsu. Though she was not able to break a boulder with AF of her finger like Tsunade, she was slowly getting there. Hinata had completely modified her taijutsu to her skills. Naruto asked for a demonstration and was not disappointed. Hinata's movements now flowed just like her water jutsu. Their chakra control had greatly improved and Kurenai had taught Ino some genjutsu and Ino was quickly learning. Naruto talked to his newest fiancée, Tsunade, to testing his students and teach them medical jutsu. She agreed and took Sakura and Hinata as her apprentices. The two learned under her, but while Sakura learned the ways of a medic, Hinata learned the ways of the combat maiden. It turned out that combat maidens were a large part of Uzushiyogakure's shinobi rosters. They were the equivalent of Konoha's combat medics but had training extensive use of chakra scalpels that could be used as lethal weapons. Naruto had found a scroll among his mother's things and gave it to Tsunade, who taught Hinata its contents. The battle maidens were heralded as great healers as well as all-around good fighters, especially with chakra scalpels. Each battle maiden was unique unto herself. Some specialized in poisons while others specialize in kai attacks. Each maiden also went through a graduation rite. The maidens wore leather armor sewn into their clothing at strategic places for most protection. The leather had seals written on them, making them impervious to any blade, jutsu, or fist. The outfits were designed by the maiden and the seals were done by a master. They were donned upon graduation. Hinata had completed her training, so Tsunade had Naruto put seals on the leather armor that would be sewn into Hinata's battle kimono. Hinata had finished her training along with her teammates in time for the Chunin exams. Naruto entered his team in it and came to the first exam to cheer them on. A week later, his team had progressed to the third part of the exam. His fiancée May had come to watch the exams and he took the opportunity to give her the necklace he bought her. She kissed him as she tucked the red opal that hung from a silver chain into her robes. Tsunade saw May embrace Naruto and suddenly she felt jealous for some reason. "You must be May. Naruto told me all about you," said Tsunade through her teeth. May looked smug as she looked at Tsunade. "That's right, cow. I was with him first," thought May until Naruto kissed Tsunade as affectionately as he did for her. "That's right, flat chest. In the battle of affection, the one with the softer chest wins," thought Tsunade as she pressed Naruto's face into his chest. May was now third in rank in the bust war, with Tsunade only training Kyuubi. "Damn cow, you may have better, but can you kiss like I can?" She pulled Naruto out of Tsunade's embrace and pulled Naruto into a passionate kiss. "That's right, cow. How about matching that?" Tsunade's glare said everything. This is not over by a long shot. Naruto had slumped in his chair between the two girls that were two of his fiancées, who were too busy fighting. Kyuubi had been invited to sit with the cages and she took notice. While the two glared at each other, Kyuubi was comforting Naruto. She had his head in her lap as she sat with Naruto on a long bench. The two had stopped fighting and realized Naruto was gone from his chair. "You girls will be the death of Naruto-kun if you keep this up. He is trying to make you guys happy. Try to remember that," said Kyuubi as she watched over Naruto. Both girls hung their heads as Kyuubi smiled at a sleeping Naruto. "Naruto," she said gently into his eye. Naruto's eyes fluttered as she groaned. "Hinata is starting her match." Naruto sat up quickly and watched his pupil take to the battlefield. Her opponent was Neji. Naruto knew the boy from his visits to the Hyuga estate. Hiyashi had tried to make amends by inviting Naruto over often to tutor Hinata in the estate. Naruto had done so to boost Hinata's confidence and it had worked wonders. Down on the field, Neji sneered at his cousin. "You may be trained by Namikaze-san, but fate states you will lose," he said. Hinata ignored him and unsealed her staff from a storage seal Naruto had put on her armor. Hinata readied herself and waited for the proctor to start the match. "Go," said the proctor's voice. Hinata added her own flair to the ancient Uzu arts of the battle maiden, channeling chakra into the staff's ends to create chakra blades that sliced anything in their path. Neji charged at her as Hinata calmly analyzed his movements. Neji was proclaimed the Hyuga clan genius and his skills confirmed the claim. Neji attacked his cousin with a flurry of attacks, all blocked by Hinata's staff. "You are a weakling, hiding behind a weapon to make yourself look stronger. No matter, you will still lose," he said. Hinata saw an opening and unleashed a combo of blows using her staff. Neji expertly blocked them, but then a surprise came. Neji's right arm had dropped by his side to awe and disbelief of the crowd. "You may be quick with block my staff, but my chakra scalpels on the ends penetrate skin and severe tendons and nerves without any surface damage," said Hinata. "You said earlier I only hide behind my staff. Let me show you the fruit of my training." Hinata sealed away her staff and got into her modified Jiyuken stance. Neji looked confused at the open palm and fist stance that Hinata assumed but disregarded it. Hinata sped towards him, skillfully dodging all attacks on her person and sent Neji flying with combo of palm and fist strikes. Neji smirked as he got up and waited for Hinata to come near him again. Neji quickly performed the kaden and watched with look of satisfaction when Hinata was rocketed off her feet upon contact with the rotating blue orb around him. Hinata quickly readjusted her position in midair and landed on her feet. What she did next shocked everyone, including her own father. Sweden. Heavenly fist of submission. Hinata expelled a rotating stream of water that shot at Neji's ultimate defense. Neji felt himself stop spinning and a look of horror quickly replaced his smug look. The Kaiden that was dubbed the Hyuga's ultimate defense had been stopped to a standstill. Hinata's column of water rotated in the opposing direction, canceling the rotating shield around Neji. The stream continued to push and sent Neji spiraling onto the arena floor. He got up shakily as he dropped into the Jiyuken stance again. He desperately tried one last tactic. He waited until Hinata was again in his range and yelled, "You're in my divination." 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Hinata sailed back from the attack and crashed into the ground. Neji looked smug as he walked slowly to his cousin's prone form, or so he thought. "Never underestimate your opponent," said Hinata as she sprung up and delivered an equally strong attack as the 64 palms. Divine Water Trigrams, 64 palms. The crowd watched in utter shock as water literally surrounded Hinata's hands during the execution of the attack. Neji was struck 64 times by Hinata's attack, but the attack was doubled in strength by the water-natured chakra that blasted from her palms during the strike. The water spread the damage over large areas, overlapping and multiplying the injuries that were dealt. Neji fell to the ground unconscious as Hinata's father and sister saw Hinata in a different light. Hinata developed her own style and even countered the Kaiden. Thought a stunned Hiashi. "Nei-chan," thought Hanabi as she stared into the arena. "Winner. Hinata," called the proctor. Naruto gave Hinata a smile, which she returned. Naruto had offered Hiashi a solution to the caged bird seal and he had accepted. Naruto was finalizing the seal that would replace the caged bird seal. Naruto watched Ino's battle with a grass ninja who took her pretty exterior as her weakness. "What do we have here? A pretty girl, huh? Why don't you forfeit and go play with your dolls?" taunted the ninja. Ino smirked as she wanted intently for the proctor to start the match. "Go." Ino rocketed toward the ninja, pulling her butterfly swords from their sheaths and surprising the ninja from grass. He threw a few kunai at her as a distraction but had not guarded his back, thinking she was just a pushover. He had effectively doomed himself. Ino had disappeared from his sight and reappeared behind him. He sensed the danger too late and barely parried her attack with a kunai. Ino grinned as she pushed lightning into her blades. The electricity flowed to the kunai, leaving a fried grass ninja in the dust, unconscious and occasionally sparking. Naruto sighed as Ino left the field after her victory was called. Anko was rubbing off on her. Sakura's battle was interesting as well. She fought a ninja from Mist. Mei watched intently hoping he would win and secure Mist a place in the finals. Her other genin did not make it or had lost their bouts. The Mist ninja was Y and unsheathed his sword when the proctor started the match and rushed at Sakura. The pink-haired Kunoichi's strength training had paid off. Her chakra-packed punch to the side of the blade had caused it to shatter into bits. Sakura had quickly ended her match by fracturing the earth below the Mist genin and catching the ninja with a large boulder to the face. He was sent into a blissful unconsciousness as Sakura was declared the victor. Mei frowned as Tsunade smiled at her apprentice's win. "What is Konoha feeding its genin?" thought Mei as she watched her genin being carted to the infirmary. Naruto watched the case cage and Sarutobi chat about Sasuke. Naruto looked at the case cage with suspicion. His veil was hiding something he did want anyone seeing and it rang a bell in Naruto's mind. Orochimaru had been spotted in the Forest of Death while Anko had proctored the second part of the exam. She had gone to face the bastard but had missed him by just a bit. The Uchiha had been already marked and Naruto had the pleasure to seal up the mark from the unstable genin. Naruto never liked Sasuke and with the cursed seal, he had witnessed Sasuke become more unstable. He remembered the kid from when he was undercover in the academy. The black-haired genin was brooding in the corner. Itachi had told him how Sasuke was ignored and was even more so when Naruto beat him in a spar. With the clan mostly gone, Sasuke received more attention, but his obsession with gaining power to beat Naruto had grown. Anko was good friends with Makoto and told Naruto of her friend's dilemma. Naruto was weary of the boy. He was no threat to Naruto, but if Orochimaru got his grimy hands on the kid, Konoha would be in deep shit. Shaking his head to clear the negative thoughts, Naruto whispered his suspicions to Tsunade, who nodded slightly. Jiraiya had come to watch the matches as well, and Tsunade told the pervert about Naruto's concern. Jiraiya reassured him the cage wasn't Orochimaru. Naruto had a run-in with Suna's Jinchuriki, Gaara, during the month that was given to train for finals. Naruto had taken a look at his seal after Kyuubi had told him Gaara was the container of Ikibi. Naruto made it a habit to help any Jinchuriki he came upon, since he was one as well. Gaara's sister Temari had thanked him for helping her brother. Naruto had placed a seal on top of his existing seal and had extracted the insane priest sealed with the Ikibi. Gaara could now sleep and wasn't bloodthirsty. Gaara and Naruto currently sat together, chatting pleasantly and playing a game of Go as Anko trained the three kunoichi that made up Team 11. "So Gaara, does your village treat you well?" asked Naruto. "The cage sent assassins to kill me, fearing I would kill the entire village," said Gaara as he studied the board. "I'm sorry about that, Gaara. Konoha wasn't too keen about me either. Until they found out that I was the son of their fourth Hokage. I still get hateful looks from some villagers, but most have tried to kiss up. I ignore them. I have 6 beautiful fiancés and that's what keeps me going, Gaara." "Friendship and love," said Naruto as he moved a piece on his side. "I see, Naruto-san. I'm surprised you did not turn out like I did. Thank you for helping me, by the way." "Ikibi is quieter now," replied Gaara. "Well, if Q-chan hadn't held you in place before Ikibi could emerge, I may have been too late." Gaara's eyebrows shot up. "The red-haired girl with the strange eyes is the Kyuubi?" asked Gaara incredulously. "Yeah, she's one of my fiancé and I love her very much." Gaara nodded as he claimed his victory as Naruto winced at his epic loss. He was good friends with Shikamaru and Choji's parents, and by default Shikamaru and Choji. The three had gone to eat once when Naruto's fiancés were busy. Shikamaru had taught Naruto how to play Go once. Naruto played Shikamaru when possible and he had not won once yet. Gaara had never played once and he still won. Maybe it was Naruto's inability to understand the game. Naruto sighed as Gaara's sand reset the board again. "It's 2-0, Naruto-san. Ready to lose again?" asked Gaara. Naruto nodded. Temari had told him about the invasion, but Naruto had already known for a while. Instead, he asked them to defect and fight for Konoha during the invasion, and the trio agreed. Temari sat next to Naruto, who had given up on beating Gaara at Go and watched his fiancé train his team. "How did you become a Junin?" asked Temari, gazing at the blonde Junin. "I guess I had the skills for it. The life of a Jinchuriki makes sure you are always on your toes," said Naruto as Temari started to apologize. "It's alright, Temari-san. You didn't know. Gaara told me the 3 of you are the cage's children." "That's right, but not once did he ever treat us like his children. After our mother died having Gaara, he was bitter and blamed by brother." "I really appreciate you helping Gaara," said Temari softly. Naruto thought he saw a bit of pink in her cheeks but dismissed it. "You're welcome. I can't leave a fellow Jinchuriki to fend for himself or herself. It's against my policy." Naruto closed his eyes for a second, and when he turned to Temari, she was closer to him. "So Naruto, do you have a girlfriend?" asked Temari, hoping he was single. "No, but I'm engaged to 6 girls. I'm the head of 2 clans, he said as Temari blinked and smiled. "Then you won't mind another, right?" she asked seductively. Anko had turned to call Naruto and saw Temari leaning into him. Almost instantaneously, Anko's protectiveness of Naruto skyrocketed. "Get away from Naruto-kun, you hussy!" exclaimed Anko. "Is this one of your fiancés, Naruto?" "She looks more like a tramp than anything else," said Temari as sparks flew between them. Gaara appeared beside Naruto. My sister has never had the chance to date because she was my sister. However, I have never seen her like this before, said Gaara. Naruto sighed. I hope you never have to experience this, Gaara. Girls, please stop, said Naruto. Temari, the girls that I am engaged to are not my fiancés because I am attractive or have money. They love me for how I am and I do the same. You are really beautiful but I am not that easy, Temari-san. I don't marry for anything less than love. With that, Naruto and Anko dismissed their team for the day and took off after bidding their friends goodbye. Naruto-kun, I will get you. I always get what I want, thought Temari. The finals came quickly as the finalists stood in the arena antsy to compete. Naruto watched as the finalists fought each other. The fights were now a three-person free-for-all. Ino and Sakura were unlucky and had lost but they had made it far. Hinata had defeated her opponents though and had moved up. The last three were Gaara, Sasuke, and Hinata. Gaara and Hinata had teamed up against the Uchiha when feathers fell from the sky and the observers fell asleep. Naruto and his fiancées were the first to respond and woke up whoever they could as Suna and Oto Ninja began to clash with the Konoha forces. Naruto and Zabuza were reunited on the battlefield, this time as allies. Hey brat, I see you haven't gotten any weaker, said the Kiri swordsman as he removed several Oto heads from their owner. You don't look bad either, Zabuza, said Naruto as his scythe cut through several Suna ninja. Gaara and his sibling were watching their back and cut down anyone who tried to sneak up on them. Naruto looked up and found a purple barrier around the cage box and left the arena to check it out. Cutting down some Oto ninja near it, he tested it, tossing a dead Oto ninja into it. He whistled as the body disintegrated into nothing. Naruto tossed a seal he quickly wrote to negate the dome temporarily for him to enter the barrier. The purple barrier hissed as the paper burned up and opened a big enough hole for Naruto to quickly enter before it closed behind him. Naruto saw Orochimaru fighting Tsunade and Sarutobi and leapt into the fray. I see the snake has slithered out from its hiding place, said Naruto as he swung his custom weapon, blocking the Kusanagi from cutting Tsunade. His blonde fiancé and Sarutobi were now occupied, fighting off the revived Shadaime and Nadaime, whom Orochimaru brought back with the impure world reincarnation jutsu. Naruto snarled at Orochimaru as he deflected the blade from Tsunade and blasted Orochimaru with a wind attack, causing the former Sennin to jump to avoid the attack. He didn't see Naruto's attack until too late, which impaled him through the chest. He shed his skin becoming whole again as the former shell of himself turned to dust. Kukuku, I see you have some powerful attacks Naruto-kun. You are no match for me though, he said laughing as he summoned Manda. Tsunade quickly summoned Katsuyu while Sarutobi summoned Enma who transformed into an adamantine staff. The two cages quickly killed off the resurrected cages but were left tired since the two dead cages had put up a fight. Naruto gritted his teeth as he missed Orochimaru for the fifth time. The snake was slippery than slug slime. Quickly summoning several clones, he mobbed Orochimaru with them as he drew his ink from its container and formed into a chakra-sapping seal in the air. Fuiunjutsu. Chakra draining array. Shouted Naruto as he fired the floating array at Orochimaru who had finally killed the last shadow clone. Orochimaru turned too late and the seal burned into his skin, stopping his chakra from flowing to his hands. His arms could no longer convey chakra and Orochimaru felt the seal sapping his strength. He shed again and retreated with Kabuto and his bodyguards, the Sound Four. Naruto quickly gathered his fiancés and they gave chase together. Tayuya and the rest of the Sound Four stayed behind to give their leader and Kabuto some time. Naruto killed everyone but Tayuya who had been beaten into unconsciousness by a collaboration of Anko and Kurenai. Taking Tayuya into his arms, Naruto buried the rest of the Sound Four in graves near the Konoha border and put up a crude tombstone for them all. Tayuya woke up in the Namikaze mansion, with her hands bound over her head and the rest of her body immobilized by a seal on her abdomen. Naruto came into the room and found Tayuya awake and set the tray of food on the table across from the bed. I see you are up now, said Naruto. What so it matter to you, shithead? Spat Yuya. Naruto ignored the cursing and took a bowl of soup from the tray he brought up after he sat Yuya up. Do you want some soup? I'll unbind you and let you eat with your own hands if you like, said Naruto calmly. Off, shithead. Growled Yuya. Naruto set the bowl of soup back on the tray and stood up with it. I wanted to feed you, but if you insist you aren't hungry, I'll leave. Yuya's stomach growled as she turned pink with embarrassment. Fine, shithead. I'll eat, she shouted. Naruto unbound her hands and put the tray on her lap. Know this, there is a seal on your body that prevents acts of aggression towards me or my fiancés. If you try anything, the seal will make it unpleasant for you, said Naruto. Yuya ignored him and ate her meal. Tsunade entered the room and stood next to Naruto. Why did you save her? Whispered his blonde fiancé. She had the same look in her eyes Gaara had. The look of utter loneliness. Gaara has his siblings but she has no one. Plus Gaara is in Konoha, away from Suna, said Naruto. Yuya finished her meal and shouted to get Naruto's attention. Oi shithead, I'm done now, she said. Naruto told Tsunade to calm down as he got the tray off her lap and exited the room. Anko entered the room after Naruto exited and sat by Yuya's immobilized form. Naruto had no clue how Anko did, but an hour later he went to check on Yuya and she was crying while Anko comforted her. Anko had done the impossible. Yuya had been resistant to anyone talking to her. She swore at anyone and everyone. Anko had broken through the facade Yuya had put up to shield herself. Anko later explained that in Odo every girl was on her own and that if they couldn't fend for themselves they would be taken advantage of. Yuya was one of the sound four, so many people didn't harass her, but she was traumatized by the girls around her that were. She consequently created that facade to protect herself from any and all. She had a friend who was like a sister to her. Kin, the girl that one of the Konoha genin fought. Orochimaru considered her expendable and sacrificed her to bring back the Nadaime from the dead. Naruto reassured Yuya that she was safe from all harm in the mansion. He went and talked to Sarutobi, who issued Yuya a Konoha shinobi license in exchange for any information on Orochimaru. She spilled her guts and told Ibiki all she knew the minute she was interrogated. Naruto took her home and let her rest for a few days before he started research on her cursed seal. Yuya complied completely. Naruto worked tirelessly to come up with a counterseal to remove it like he did for Anko's. A month after Konoha was attacked he had the research completed. Konoha was repairing itself slowly. He created an army of clones to help, and Tazuna and Inari had come from Wave to lend a hand. In fact, all of Wave came and the village was rebuilt in a month. Mei had also sent help from Kiri to help her so-to-be husband's village. Finally, with Naruto's research on Orochimaru's new seal done, he gave Jiraiya a copy of his notes and told him to remove the seal from Sasuke. Unfortunately, the Uchiha had jumped ship and had defected to Oto. A retrieval team was created and was sent to retrieve the traitor. Unfortunately, they were too late. Sasuke's trail had gone cold about a mile from Konoha's border. The retrieval team, made up of Naruto, Team 11, and the other genin teams and their sensei returned empty-handed. Sasuke's obsession with defeating Naruto had totally taken hold of him. Naruto wondered why his brother didn't stop him and then went to Sarutobi, remembering Itachi was not in the village. Itachi was asked to go undercover in the Akatsuki. They are a group that has sprung up, and with the reports he has sent back, they aim to collect the Biju, but their reasons are still unclear, explained Sarutobi. Naruto nodded at the logic. Itachi could have defeated him with Kisami's help, but he clearly held back. Naruto left the Hokage Tower as Tsunade finally took over as the Godime. Her coronation was held 2 weeks after the invasion with much celebration. The civilian council wasn't happy with the new Hokage though. Tsunade had cleared the civilian side and appointed Sarutobi as the third council elder to offset Koharu and Homura. This would even out the tables and give the shinobi the control of the village back. Tsunade also implemented the changes Naruto had suggested after his undercover mission in the academy was completed, adding a class in medical jutsu as a mandatory course. Naruto had finally gotten back and immediately started to work on removing Tayuya's seal. The girl cooperated when Naruto explained the counterseal would have to be drawn all across her upper body. She sat quietly as Naruto finished drawing the seals. Kai! Yelled Naruto as he channeled his chakra into the seal. Tayuya winced as the seal she had burnt and vanished from her skin. Naruto removed his chakra from her system and cleaned up his work area. As he sealed away his few Iyunjutsu tools, he felt Tayuya press herself against his back as her arms encircled him. "No one saw me do this, right?" said Tayuya. Naruto nodded and took Tayuya back to her room after she redressed. Tayuya had a picture of Naruto under her pillow that she kissed as she laid on her bed. She hid it back in its hiding place before dozing off. Little did she know Anko had been passing by and saw Tayuya kiss the picture that she gave her of Naruto when she explained Naruto's background. Anko smiled and continued on her way, smiling at what she had seen. Tayuya reported the Hokage's office to see the Hokage. She knew Naruto was engaged to her but didn't know she was the godime. "Hey Hokage-sama," said Tayuya as she entered the room. Tsunade smiled at the girl. Anko had gotten her to open a lot. "Tayuya, you are on probation as of now. Anko had an emergency job at the IT department and Naruto needs an assistant to teach his team. You are it. Go to training ground 11 and meet the team there," said Tsunade. Tayuya tried to protest saying she wasn't good with kids. Tsunade wouldn't budge so Tayuya sighed and headed to training ground 11. Naruto had his team running warm-up laps as Tayuya arrived. "Tsunade-chan sent you to help me. Alright then. I need you to use your doki to give them a good opponent to fight." Tayuya nodded and brought out her flute. Naruto had recovered it and given it to her. She played a tune and summoned her doki and used another tune make them attack the group. Naruto's whole team was promoted to Chunin after the reconstruction effort. Tsunade kept Team 11 together saying they had the best success rate. Tayuya's doki were indestructible demons that only dispelled after taking heavy damage so Team 11 threw their strongest jutsu at them. 20 minutes later, Tayuya was laughing on the ground when she saw the girls collapse in a heap with their tongues hanging out. "Why the hell are you laughing?" shouted Ino. "You should have seen your faces. You tongues were hanging out like a pack of tired dogs," said a still laughing Tayuya. Naruto healed his team and they all went to eat at Ichiraku's ramen stand. "10 miso please," said Naruto as he broke apart his chopsticks. Tayuya had ordered a beef ramen, while Sakura and Ino ordered a chicken ramen each. Hinata had ordered a pork ramen. Tayuya watched with unmasked awe as Naruto happily slurped down his ramen. She had barely even finished a fourth of her bowl and Naruto had polished off his 10th bowl. "Naruto-sensei always eats this fast," said Ino to Tayuya who just nodded dumbly. Naruto called for another 10 bowls which he finished with a similar vigor. "It's just so good. Probably my parents' genes. They ate at Ichiraku's all the time," said Naruto getting a giggle from Tayuya who pictured Naruto's parents eating ramen with the same vigor as Naruto. Naruto and Tayuya returned to the estate where Naruto and Tayuya lived with Naruto's 5 fiancés who lived in Konoha. Tayuya went to her room and grabbed a towel as she headed the onsen in the back of the estate. She undressed and put her clothes in the basket in the room before opening the screen door and entering the onsen. Anko was already soaking in the onsen and motioned for Tayuya to join her. The red-haired girl joined Anko in onsen, sighing as the water loosened her tight muscles. "So Tayuya, how did taking my place as Naruto-kun's assistant turn out?" asked Anko as she drank a cup of sake from a floating wooden plate holding a sake bottle and cups. Tayuya poured herself a cup and drank it down, savoring the taste of the sake. "It was interesting. The brats he teaches are a funny bunch but they are pretty good," said Tayuya as she poured herself another cup of sake. "I know right. Naruto-kun and I only succeeded in making them good kunoichi by pushing them to the limits at every team practice, said Enko laughing. Tayuya joined her and soon the onsen was filled with giggles. You know Tayuya, I was once exactly like you were when Naruto-kun brought you to the mansion. I was called the snake bitch of Konoha. Along with two other women, they and I were collectively called the ice queens of Konoha. I'm sure you know Kurenai-chan. She was one of the ice queens and was known as the Genjutsu mistress. She is still called that now, but it is only used by those who got pummeled by her. She hates perverts. Enko looked at her cup as she drank another shot of sake. I was insecure about myself. I built a facade around myself to protect myself from the perverts and anyone who wanted to take advantage of me. As you know, Orochimaru was my master before he betrayed Konoha and left me with a cursed seal like the one you had. Naruto befriended me despite my cold attitude towards him. We met in the forest of death. He took me to eat dango when he was free. Then he offered to remove the cursed seal for me after we had become friends. I just at the offer and shook him. He looked so silly, all confused and dizzy. In the end, I fell for him. He emits this aura that calms anyone down and comforts you like no other. He's kind, loving, compassionate, and is the perfect gentleman. I am glad he's my fiancé, said Enko giggling as she reminisced. Tayuya listened the whole time, not once interrupting Enko's story. Tayuya's thoughts turned to her savior, Naruto. He could have killed her with her former team, but he spared her. He could kill her by poisoning her food but did not. He could have let it torture her for information, but he chose to let her do it on her own. Tears threatened to spill from Tayuya's eyes as she quickly wiped away her tears before they fell. Enko smiled softly at the red-haired Junin. Tsunade had instated her as a Junin since her skills met the requirements. Enko wrapped her arms around the girl and pressed her head to her shoulder and let her cry. It's all right. Let it all out, Tayuya. It's okay to cry, said Enko, soothing the distraught girl. A few minutes later, Enko released the girl who wiped her tears and moved beside Enko. They soaked in silence until Tayuya broke the awkward pause in a small voice. Do you think I'll find someone to love me like you did? She asked. Enko grinned. Hook, line, and sinker. I'm sure Naruto could use another fiancé as beautiful as you. He has to marry at least 8 girls anyways and he only has 6. Do you want to try being with him? Asked Enko. Tayuya turned bright red remembering a kiss between Enko and Naruto she accidentally caught when she exited her room once. Enko had told her she was welcome to join in, causing her to run away, hiding her red cheeks. Okay, said Tayuya in a small voice. Enko smiled at the girl and they got out together. Enko redressed and disappeared while Tayuya redressed slowly, pondering what would happen now. Meanwhile, Enko was busy filling her fellow sisters in on the new addition. Everyone smiled at the thought of Tayuya trying to tell Naruto she loved her, with a red face. She's a perfect tsunade, thought Kurenai. Tsunade was walking home with Naruto, so she had no clue, so she would be as surprised as Naruto would be. Naruto entered his mansion with Tsunade as the girls plus Tayuya readied for Naruto. Tsunade kissed in the foyer before going to her room and heading to the onsen. Meanwhile, Enko greeted her lover and led Naruto into the den where Tayuya sat, dressed up in one of Enko's dresses she lent her for the occasion. Tayuya got up from her seat and moved towards Naruto and pressed herself into Naruto's body. "I'll like you, okay? IW want to be your wife," said Tayuya blushing as she hid her face in Naruto's chest. Naruto hugged the blushing girl before gently placing a kiss on her forehead, causing Tayuya to pass out from embarrassment. "She's like Hinata, right, Enko-chan?" said Naruto as he kissed his fiancée on the lips. Naruto set the girl down on his bed before gently closing the door. Naruto told the girls that he would be running an errand and would be out until dinner. Little did they know, something wonderful would happen at dinner. Naruto went to the jewelry store to pick up the engagement rings he had custom ordered when he picked up the jewelry he gave his girls. Each ring was custom fit for the girls and was themed for each girl. For Anko, the ring was a coiled snake that held a diamond in its open jaws. Kurenai's ring was themed around her genjutsu skills. The ring was made from clear volcanic glass finely polished with the diamond snugly fitted into a custom-cut hole in the ring. Haku's ring was carefully cut from milky quartz, snowflake motif engraved on the outside of the ring in great detail. A diamond was the set so that it looked as if it was the center of a snowflake. Kyuubi's ring consisted of a golden band with fox motif engraved into the outside circumference. The diamond was placed into a small holder that were made to look like 4 small foxes with their tails intertwined to hold the gem in place. Tsunade's ring was made from platinum and the diamond was embedded into the band. Mei's ring had a rough texture to the outside circumference. Made from volcanic rock containing a single diamond, the ring was cut from it. The inside was smoothed and polished while the outside of the ring was just smoothed and the imperfections left. The diamond was ground into a perfect shape and polished. Naruto had the ring made in this way to symbolize Mei's diamond in the rough personality, a strong but gentle person at the same time. Tayuya's ring was most difficult to create. Carved from a chunk of wood found only in the Forest of Death, then decorated with material from a giant tiger's tooth, again from the Forest of Death, the ring was finally finished by dipping it into liquid silver. The diamond was fitted into a hole in the ring. The hole was part of the ring's decoration. The ring's circumference was engraved into a flute that wrapped around the ring, with one real hole to fit the diamond in. Naruto spent the next several hours before he would have to start dinner engraving a Hiraishin seal inside each ring, enabling his wives to call for help and let him teleport to their location. Naruto entered his mansion and started dinner, hiding his presents in a seal in his belt. His fiancées soon came into the dining room, lured by the aroma of Naruto's delicious cooking. Naruto set the last dish on the table and created 5 clones to present each ring to its owner. Naruto would present Kyuubi's himself. Mei would have to wait but not for long. She sent Naruto a letter, saying she was coming to visit tomorrow. Won't she be surprised when he proposed to her tomorrow? Tsunade, Kurenai, Anko, Haku, Kyuubi, and Tayuya entered the dining area, all clueless and surprised at the number of Narutos moving around the dining room in wait of something or someone. Oi, boss, they are here! Shouted a clone. Naruto entered from the kitchen and asked his clones to stand in front of each wife the ring was for. I think I have put this off too long, so will you marry me? Asked Naruto as his clones did the same, presenting a ring to all his girls except Mei. Each girl reacted differently. Anko kissed the clone with her ring so hard he dispelled after placing her ring on her finger. Kurenai hugged the clone until it dispelled. Haku froze its intimate parts for taking too long. Kyuubi started to unbutton Naruto's clothing and was stopped by Tsunade, who bopped Naruto on the head. Tayuya was enraptured by her ring, but when she was caught tried to deny it. Somewhere in Kiri, Mei sneezed as she narrowed her eyes. My Naruto senses are tingling. That cow better keep her hands to herself, thought Mei as an aura of death, scaring her assistant. Naruto got little sleep that night. Tsunade, Haku, Anko, and Tayuya were sleeping in his bed alongside him. Each girl had a body part pressed into her intimate parts unintentionally. Anko may have done it intentionally, but it was Anko. Naruto's sheer will forced down a nosebleed as he tried to ignore the fact that his arms, chest, and right leg were pressed against the cleavage of his soon-to-be wives. The girls in his bed all smirked in their sleep as Naruto began to break out in a cold sweat. Naruto woke up a bit tired, but his lack of sleep was soon fixed when Tsunade put a breakfast tray in his lap as his other fiancés were downstairs doing what Naruto did for them usually. As Naruto finishes the meal that Tsunade cooked for him and gave her a compliment on the good food, he headed outside and his fiancés followed him to meet Mei, who was arriving. The Mizukage enters with her 2 bodyguards and 2 familiar people. Naruto kisses his soon-to-fiancé and greets Zabuza and Tsunami. I see you have been busy, Gaki, said Zabuza as his arms around Tsunami's waist. Well, as you can see, Tsunami and I are dating as of 6 months ago. Tsunami plants a kiss on Zabuza's cheek and he reddens, but his bandages help him cover his red face. Naruto takes Mei into his home with Zabuza and Tsunami while Mei's bodyguards wander the town. As Zabuza and his girlfriend talk to Naruto's other girls, an ear-splitting scream causes everyone to jump. They rushed into the mansion to see Naruto pressed into Mei's buxom. Mei finally releases a dizzy Naruto who is tended to by his other girls while Mei looks dreamily at her engagement ring. Tsunade and Mei were soon in each other's faces. "See what you did, flat chest. You hurt him," said Tsunade as she unconsciously thrust her chest forward, making her S-bound.